Hey gang, figured that they just dropped the new numbers on us for this week, so I was going to go ahead and jump in and do a sprint watch. For those of you who are new to the channel or haven't seen me do one of these before, quick rundown is I kind of go through the roadmap roundup, just sort of see what big major changes they like to call attention to. Then I roll over, I kind of look at the release view, and then the real meat of this show is I go through the progress tracker and kind of see what's moved around, what's changed. Generally kind of give some of my views and some of my opinions on what's being worked on, what's been pushed, what's been dropped, and why I think that is, and do some blue sky speculation. So if that sounds good, hang with me. Okay, so like I was saying in the intro, we just kind of go through, and I'll start with the roadmap roundup, go to the release view, go to the progress tracker. I always like to throw in a little caveat that CIG uses the agile development system, which means that they give their devs, they'll give a team, you've got 2 weeks to work on this thing. And then at the end of that 2 weeks, you're either finished, you kind of assess what you've done, you decide whether you need to have other teams come in and move on it, or you just decide that this thing's a dead end and we're never going to use it. I just watched a video from the Noobifier today, which I'll put a link in the up above parts for it, where he was kind of talking about the general frustration of the community that this sort of seems to be like a never-ending project, that they just keep doing feature creep. Part of that is the agile development system. The whole point of the agile development system is to kind of give people a chance to be creative, to kind of go out and create things. The downside of the agile system is that it gives people a chance to be super creative and not necessarily focusing in on this is the deliverable, let's get it out. With Squadron 42, that's more what it is. You see a lot less feature creep in something like Squadron 42 because it's a very narrowly focused project. As far as like it's a single player game and it's got a set plot that goes A, B, C, and you go through it. Not totally on rails, but you get what I'm going at there. But another part of the agile development system is that just because something is 100% complete, and I'll see if I can find a good example here, like let's say AI vehicle perception. Just because the AI tech and feature team is done on this doesn't mean that the AI tech team might not have to jump in on it, or the UI team will have to jump in on it. I don't know why the UI team would have to do AI vehicle perception, but you get the idea. Like another team might have to work on it. So it's finished this 28-week sprint. They've kind of done everything that they think they need to do on it for now, but it's totally possible that in another couple months, another team picks it up and starts working on it again. So it looks like it's 100% done. It's not, because somebody else has to work on it. Pretty much don't consider something finished until it's in our grubby little hands and we're playing with it. And even then, don't make that dirty. That's not a guarantee. They're not going to keep iterating on it and changing it. Like mining has a long ways to go. We still got mining drones out there somewhere that have to come in. We know they have a large miner that they're going to work on. There's a lot of features that the Orion needs to do. So even though they consider mining to be the most complete game loop that they have in the game, and they're probably accurate on that, it still has a way to go. I'd say it's probably 3/4 the way there, but that last quarter is a lot of big feature items. So sprints, just because it's 100% done doesn't mean it's done. That's the caveat. So just try to keep that in mind when looking on here. Temper your expectations, or temper your, oh my God, that ship is almost done, that means we're getting it. And we'll get to that once we get there. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and do the roundup roadmap. I am taking a big chance I'm not reading this time. I'm convinced that they're not hiding stuff up there anymore. Still read it in my free time. Notable changes for March 8th, 2023. Release view. The following card has been added to the 319 column on the release view: the RSI Lynx. Building, implementing, and balancing RSI's planetary rover, the Lynx, as a game-ready vehicle. So if you don't know what this is kind of the luxury equivalent of the Ursa rover. It goes right now on the Constellation Phoenix. which is sort of the battle yacht constellation variant. We haven't really seen any concepts of this thing, except for like the very early days. And I mean, at this point, those things are 8 or 9 years old. So who knows what this thing looks like now? But looking forward to it. And we'll get to see it probably about middle of the year. Progress tracker. With this publish, we're adding additional Q1 2023 and Q3 2023 schedules for downstream and upstream teams. This is kind of one of the things we've been waiting on the last couple of weeks, respectively. The following deliverables have been added to the progress tracker. Additional derelict settlements. Settlements with both gameplay and social elements. That's good. Spread throughout the Stanton wilderness using the Rastar tool. So a couple things I want to point out on this one that are really significant. To this point, these derelict settlements have basically been, you go there to get boxes and to shoot NPCs, you snipe NPCs from like a long distance away, and they don't know you're there. Social elements suggest that they might be bumping these up a notch, so they might actually become trade locations if you have a good enough rep, or they might be places that you can stop and get food or something like that, which is one of those things I was really, really hoping they'd do at these places. Just so that you have locations that you go for more than just combat. There needs to be more life in the verse, and social elements add that life. And spread throughout the Stanton wilderness. So this was something that I theorized, I think it was last year, that since it looked like we weren't getting 4.0 this year, we're probably getting in 2024, that I was really hoping that they'd take some of those pyro assets that they're working on, like the derelict settlements. They've kind of thrown a couple of those at us, but like the underground facilities, things like that. I'm hoping they take some of those assets that they were saving for pyro and bring them into Stanton so that we can play with them, since we're not getting pyro until 2024. And it looks like they're going to do it. So that's good to know. That's it for the release view. Let's pop on, or the roadmap roundup. Let's pop on over the release view. So nothing much has changed here. Actually, I don't think anything has changed on 3.18. We got the Scorpius and Terry's on there, but that had actually dropped last time, so we knew that bad boy's in there. A lot of people have started seeing it on leaks. Certain content creators have got them. With my little channel of like 200 some people, I definitely don't have access. Actually, I might, since I'm Evocati. I don't know. I haven't checked. I haven't been super involved in this patch because real life has been busy. 3.19 though, this is kind of the interesting one, because 3.18, hopefully by the time you're watching this video or shortly thereafter, we have 3.18 in our hands. So we'll see. So 3.19 to me is more of the interesting one, because it kind of shows on what's coming down the pike. Lorville Seascape was one of them, although there was an interesting change to this one. Lorville Seascape was supposed to come with building interiors. I don't think we're going to get building interiors with it, and I'll get to that when we go to the deliverables view. Gameplay, new player experience, badly needed. I'm not sure if this isn't a little bit early, but it's kind of a good sign that CIG is working on it, because it means that they think the game will be stable enough by 3.18 and there won't be any big changes, that when a player's first getting into the verse, those initial controls and moving around aren't going to change enough that this would just be wasted time. So like how to walk around, how to pick things up, put them down, use a tractor beam, that kind of thing. I would assume, like holding down F to interact. New mission salvage contracts. This is a good thing too. Kind of surprised we don't have the same thing for mining, that they gave it to salvage first. It seems like they could roll out new missions for salvage and mining just in the same concept, but salvage contracts, they basically give you a salvage claim. So a company out there has marked the location of a ship, and they're kind of wholesalers. They say, we have gone out and got the data that there's a ship here that can be salvaged. We will sell you the location of that data, and the thought being that the value of the ship is more than you're paying. So it's guaranteed money. They're going to have different views of that. They're going to have ones that are lawful, where you're guaranteed safety and probably lower profit. There's going to be open ones where you might not be the only one going there. And then there's going to be unlawful ones that are just kind of open season. And good luck. Yeah, again, one of the things I've kind of been whining about, is I was hoping that they would give scanning ships like the Terrapin and the Carrack, the MSR, basically the data runner ships. Herald, I don't want to leave Drake out. And just give them something to do so that they could go out, scan around, find these derelict ships and mining nodes, or maybe they have to have a special scanner do one or the other. And then they could make a beacon for that location, and somebody else would buy it and they would get where that location is. And so the beacon would basically just say, it's this ship. The person that's making the beacon could set the price. And then if the person pays that price, then they get that location. They basically take that beacon and they get the location. Sort of seemed like a no-win or no-win. It sort of sounded like a win-win situation for sort of putting in the first info running missions, and give scanning ships like the Terrapin something to do, anything to do, and the Herald for that matter, even though I fly around in the Herald and the Terrapin a lot. Just give them something real to do in the game, like let them use their loop. Missed opportunity. Maybe they'll come around, they'll change their minds. Maybe they'll give it for mining too, because you could do the same thing with mining. New missions, Ghost Hollow PvP mission. What's interesting about this is that's a PV. Whoa, okay. I did not mean to click on that. It's a PvP mission, whereas right now it's just a PvE mission. So you're going there, you're fighting NPCs, and this one you're going to actually be fighting other players potentially. RSI links, there it is. That's the new one for this week. So that's it for the release view. Let's pop on over to the progress tracker. So this is where I'm going to spend the meat of the time here. Fortunately for both of us, there weren't a ton of changes here, and I've kind of done a deep dive the last 2 times I've done one of these, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this with the speculation, kind of going into what these different things are, as I normally would. Just kind of trying to keep this a little bit shorter than normal. Usually they run about an hour. I don't think it'll take an hour. So additional derelict settlements. This one's about a third of the way through. Again, they're just going to be making more settlements that we see in the verse. Like Ghost Hollow is one example. I forget what the one is with the 600i and the MSR that's dropping in 318. But we should start getting settlements that actually function almost like towns, would be my hope, that there are like trade locations and bars, and you can go there and you can drop off food and you can pick up whatever it is they sell there, scrap or something like that. But that'd be cool. On the roadmap, working through, should be a 319 asset, I would assume, which means that they're thinking 319 will be dropping around here. Pretty good sign. Again, this is one of those things the Montreal team is working on this one. They tend to be pretty quick because they mostly work on PU assets. So they're not splitting their time between Squadron 42, which is kind of the focus of all the other teams. Montreal is pretty much exclusively working on the PU, which is one of the reasons that they've got such a good rep with us, because we see their work, whereas we're not seeing any of the Squadron 42 work really. But anyway, I would imagine that they should be able to roll out, even if this line hasn't completed by the time 319 drops. I would be shocked if we're not getting like a derelict settlement here and a derelict settlement here, just as kind of filler, because they can kind of roll them out to us almost like modules as they get them completed. Aerodynamic control surfaces. This one was actually, I think it was wrapping around here, but they added 12 weeks to aerodynamic control surfaces. So one of my theories is that 319 is going to be a UI and traversal patch that might be changing a little bit. This would kind of go along with that we get our new flight model and the new MFDs and all of that with 319. With this one, it's still possible. I mean, they're going to be able to get it to here, and then they'll have a few weeks to kind of polish out the flight model before they'd be dropping 319 to us. So maybe, but they added a bunch of weeks to it. They added 12 weeks, which is 3 months. AR map and marker system. So it used to be, I don't know if you can still do this. I should probably pull a freelancer and check, but with the freelancer, you used to be able to look at your little radar and you could zoom out and you could go to the star map, the surf quantum map for moving around. From that little radar, it'd zoom in and you could actually see the planets and the moons and stuff like that. And you could set waypoints without going into your mobiGlas. I don't think we've been able to do that since maybe 310 or so. I'd be shocked if we can still see it, but I think the buttons are still there. But this is going to be the new system for marking things. It's going to move away from the old flash system. It's going to use building blocks, so it's going to be faster, more intuitive. They'll be able to customize it to the various ship manufacturers. So kind of cool. Wrapping pretty soon, so I would assume 319 assets should be doable. They'll have plenty of time to polish it. It's also a Squadron 42 asset, so it'll be prioritized. Argo SRV. So I wanted to mention this one because I noticed a couple of the other medium to small content creators were freaking out about the Argo SRV because it just wrapped. A couple things on that. So there aren't any downstream teams on this. So the downstream teams are audio, VFX, and UI sometimes. Sometimes UI is rolled into the vehicle content teams. Which EU and US are both vehicle content teams. None of the downstream teams are on this, so this has still got a few more weeks to go. But the big thing with, I would assume the Argo SRV, it's a smallish ship. It's a one-person. Yeah, I think it's actually smaller than the Raft. It's a little tugboat. But Argo has a pretty well-established style guide. I would not expect the polish on the SRV to run more than a month or two. So maybe 8 more weeks, I would think, for the SRV, but it doesn't have too long to go. The thing that is holding up the Argo SRV is tractor beams, and tractor beams have got a while. Tractor beams are going to be middle to late year. We're not getting the Argo SRV until that happens. So they're holding this off the 319 branch off of the release view until they're sure they can get tractor beams done. And yeah, so when you see the Argo SRV come on to 319, it means that they think that they're going to be able to finish vehicle tractor beams, which will be a good sign. I'm guessing this will be a 320 asset instead, and it'll drop with, and I do think that there will be a 3.20 patch. And I think that'll probably be a cargo patch that includes tractor beams on things like the 315P. I think the Cutlass Black actually comes with a tractor beam. Caterpillar does. The Argo Raft does. There's a lot of ships with vehicle tractor beams other than the Argo SRV. So all of those in theory will be functional when they do that. I don't know. So it's going down. Bounty Hunter V2. This one added 8 weeks, so 2 more months to it. This was one that I thought was kind of a dark horse for 319. I thought that might be a bounty hunting patch. At this point, it's kind of pushing on past that enough that it might be 319. So would they drop 2 game loops on us in 3.20? Like, which I would assume 320 would be around here, around September-ish. They usually drop a patch to us around then. I don't know. Let me know what you think. If you think that they drop Bounty Hunter and Cargo V2 in the same patch, and maybe to keep the pirates at bay. I don't know. Maybe it'd be cool. Building interiors. So This one was a little disappointing, a little bit sad. Building interiors was supposed to come with Lorville Redux, and it looks like it's not going to, because Montreal's going to be working on this one clear through to September. So, yeah, slight delay on that. They might be rolling out some building interiors to us, kind of like what I was saying with the derelict outposts and stuff like that. They might roll out these kind of buildings have interior and these don't yet, kind of a thing. Or these Hurston specific buildings that we finished will have building interiors. And so we'll get something here, and then they'll start rolling out more out here. Could be the way they're doing it, but no guarantees on that. We were originally supposed to get building interiors with Lorville. Just from looking at this, don't count on that. If we get it, it's a cool surprise. But right now it looks like we'll kind of get the exterior of the new Lorville, and then we'll get the interior of the new Lorville. So Squad 42, just kind of want to talk about this one briefly. The chapters, I've been saying this for at least a year now, but they will keep polishing these chapters. These chapters will keep stretching out and out and out until they're ready to release Squadron 42. They are not going to stop polishing these until Squadron 42 drops. So, yeah, this is totally expected. They will wrap on these and then they'll just keep working on them, because why not? Why not make this game as clean and polished as possible? Character work. So this one was, I want to say this was finished back in December, and I actually thought that there was a chance that in 3.18 we might get a new character editor with the new hair tech and new faces and all of that, because the current character creator is kind of dated, but they added, let's see, character creator. I didn't write down how many weeks it added, but since it wrapped over here, they added a few months to it. Again, it's wrapping. It's a Squadron 42 only asset, but hopefully we get something in the verse eventually, because I'm really getting tired of the Ace Ventura hair. So Fire Hazard is an interesting one. This one dropped off, like it, I think they said that it was complete back here. But again, this is sort of what I mean when I say that sometimes they'll have something that'll be ended and they're really just waiting for another team to come on. And that's what they did here. This AI tech and feature team came on. And I think what this is they're mentioning in the, I want to say it was Inside Star Citizen on Thursday, that NPCs were on being able to move around on planets. Now they're learning how to avoid hazards like fire. That might be what this sprint here is, like this month-and-a-half sprint. But it looks like it just wrapped. Again, until we actually have fires in the game and we're playing around with them and stuff, just kind of expect this polish to keep on going. We're not getting it for 3.18, so they might as well keep going with it, my theory. Freight elevators. So freight elevators, I talk about this one a lot, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it here. Basically, freight elevators are kind of cargo 2.0, I would say. And even more than just cargo. Like right now, you kind of have a bag of holding for your inventory, that if you're at your home base, or even if you're just a place with local inventory, you can just take off your armor, throw it into this bag of holding. If you got other armor there, you can just take it and put it on. I think what's eventually going to happen with these freight elevators is you'll say, oh, I want that other suit of armor. And if it's not stored physically in your room or in your ship, it's sort of in the local inventory, just floating out there. They will bring it up on a freight elevator in your hangar, your persistent hangar, which we'll get to down below, and then you'll have it. Likewise, if you buy cargo right now, the cargo just teleports onto your ship. When you sell cargo, it teleports off. What will happen with freight elevators is you'll order, let's say, 100 SEU of Laranite, and it'll come up on this freight elevator in your hangar. And then you'll have to manually move the cargo from the freight elevator onto your ship, or you'll have to manually move the cargo off of your ship onto the freight elevator. So elevators are pretty big. The freight elevators are a pretty big piece of the next level of cargo. Pretty big puzzle piece. I believe they only added 3 weeks on this one, so just a little bit of polish. There's no reason why they won't continue to polish this, just given some of the features that this will require. The Cargo V2, they're not going to roll this out until they have persistent hangars, and they're not going to no real reason to roll out persistent hangars until Quanta is online and the economy and the servers can handle bigger cargo movers like the Hull C. When all of those things pop online, which hopefully will be in September, you'll see things like the freight elevator come in. Just kind of like to go into a little detail on that. Jump points came back on. Let's see. No, actually, jump points were 123 weeks and they dropped to 108. Again, I would consider this one to kind of be, I don't totally buy that. I think there's another team that's going to start working on it and they just don't know when that team will start working on it. So they're killing it now, but because jump points, we're clearly not getting jump points until we get 4.0. So why not just keep polishing it until 4.0 drops? It is a Squadron 42 asset, according to this, but I don't think that we're going to be taking our Gladius and going through jump points in Squadron 42. I think we're going to be on board the Idris and going through a jump point. So it'll be more on rails than you are physically flying through a jump point. Could totally be wrong about that, but it is a Squadron 42 asset, so it will be prioritized because of that. Mystical Sea, I just always kind of like to mention this one because everybody's all like, oh, it's about to be finished. We're about to get the Mystical Sea. Everybody look for the Mystical Sea. We're not getting the Mystical Sea until the economy can handle a ship that carries as much cargo as the Mystical Sea can. Hopefully that'll be September. Don't hold your breath. So the Mobiglass rework is the next one I want to talk about. This one, again, was another one that kind of wrapped, I think, around the end of last year, around December, which would be around here-ish. They added a few more weeks to it. This is one of those that I think we're going to get in 3.19 as one of the UI improvements. Just the Mobiglass is one of the oldest pieces of tech we have in the game. So, I mean, I think we had a Mobiglass when we had the hangar module when you couldn't fly around the verse. So, yeah, Mobiglasses need a lot of work. Again, Squadron 42 feature. So, looks pretty good. We're not getting it for 3.18, unfortunately, but I think 3.19, if I'm right about it coming with a bunch of UI improvements, Mobiglass would certainly be an appreciated one. New player experience. This is one that's coming with 3.19. Again, since they think 3.19 will be dropping in June, should be easy. They'll be able to wrap this pretty soon, and they'll have like 3 months to polish it and get it working right. Just thought I'd mention that. Did they add any time to that? No, they only added 3 weeks. So yeah, that's going fine. Persistent hangars. This is the one that I was talking about related to the cargo elevators. This is one that's a little bit worrying about. I originally thought that might be a 3.19 asset. The freight elevators, just with PES coming in, I thought that they might be able to do a lot more with persistence. But persistent hangars, they're not projecting to finish until around September. So that was kind of why I was thinking that maybe that September patch would be the cargo and bounty hunting patch, which I originally thought 3.19 might be that in June, but this makes me double think that, because you're not going to get freight elevators until you get persistent hangars. So Pyro space stations. So this one was actually supposed to wrap, I think right around week 9. So we're in week 10 of quarter 1. I think it just wrapped, but they added 26 weeks to it. So yeah, it's not going to be out here. Again, anything that is a Pyro specific asset, they're probably I think what they're trying to do is I think they would like to get us 4.0 this year, but they've been burned the last few years saying, oh, Pyro's coming. This is the year of Pyro. We're on the road to Pyro. Well, when we said road to Pyro, we didn't actually mean that we'd be getting to Pyro, and they've had to walk it back each time. So I think that they kind of are 4 times bitten and 4 times shy or something, but they've kind of hit that point where maybe we just shut up about Pyro, and if we get it to them at the end of the year, they're all like, hey, thanks for Pyro, as opposed to, you guys didn't give us Pyro again. I think that's kind of what's going on. I think they want to get us 4.0 this year. Will it happen? I don't know. We're going to kind of have to see what kind of hit PES brings to the whole system, and whether the server meshing takes off like they hope it will. So keep your fingers crossed, but either way, they're going to keep polishing the Pyro assets until we got 4.0 in our hands. And even then, they're going to be polishing them. So Squadron 42 vehicle support, nothing really changed here. I just kind of like to mention this one because if you're ever wondering why X, Y, or Z ship isn't in your happy little hands, this is probably why. These are all the teams that are working on Squadron 42 ships. You can see that they stretch out into infinity, and these are the same teams that make PU ships. So that's why. And you can see a lot of the downstream teams, audio, vehicle content, vehicle feature, weapon content teams, all of those are downstream teams for other ships, which is why the vehicles that we've been getting in the persistent universe for the last few, I guess 2 or 3 years, they've all been smaller ships or variants of existing ships for this reason, because they're trying to get Squadron 42 done. Just thought I'd point that out. Subsumption, this one came back on, yeah, I don't have a marker on how many weeks they added. Subsumption, this is just sort of a back-end tool for allowing them to kind of create logic for the NPCs and the AI. Just came back on, they're going to keep working on it. At a guess what's going on there is now that they've got PES out and working, they kind of knew how things would work in theory, but now they're getting to see how it works in practice, and they've kind of got to tweak a few things. So expect a few things that are kind of impacted, like especially AI. They're going to be impacted by the server tech coming online, PES coming online, server meshing coming online. They're going to kind of be coming back, swinging through and cleaning those up. So third-person camera V2. So this one's a little bit sad for the people that like to do movies or machinimas, record themselves flying around. This one's just a little bit sad. It was a 107-week sprint, and I think it was due to wrap sometime in Q2. And I was thinking it would be cool to get new cameras because we might get camera drones, which it would make sense that the first drone we would get in the game would be a camera drone, because then it doesn't have to do anything other than be a floating eyeball, and you get all of the drone testing in there for free. Then you can add in mining drones and salvage drones and repair drones and on and on and on. But anyway, this one went from 107 weeks to 7 weeks, and it's done. It's not done. They've got another team that's going to come in and work on it, probably a UI team if I had to guess, and they're just slammed. So they're all like, yeah, put it on the back burner. The camera that we got right now is good enough for now. So they chopped it. Unannounced ships. So on Friday's show, I want to say, was it the VFX guys? I think they had the VFX guys on. I don't think it was audio. I think it was VFX. But he was kind of mentioning all of his team members and what they were working on, and he accidentally dropped that they were working on the Misk Fury. And you can see there's nothing up here called the Misk Fury, and all of us sort of roadmap watchers have never heard of the Misk Fury before. So the Misk Fury is one of these unannounced ships. It could be one of these. No, I think this is all content up here. Yeah, I kind of went through and pre-gamed this. Yeah, I think all of these are contents. These are all the ships. So what he said was they put this guy on the Misk Fury. So we know that the Misk Fury is further along than just a concept. They're actually working on the ship, which kind of narrows down which one of these it could be. And it's not one that's wrapped, so we know it's not one of these. So just going on wild speculation, Misk is an industrial company, and they don't have a lot of combat ships. And the combat ships they do have are all kind of variants of their industrial ships. So like the Misk Tana is just the Reliant with slightly bigger guns. The Razor, is it LX? Anyway, they've got a Razor, which is just their racing ship, their little sort of Formula One looking racing ship, with, I think it's a size bigger guns on it, and it's stealthy. And they have the Freelancer Miss, which just is a Freelancer with a shit ton of missiles on it. So Freelancer Misk doesn't really say combat ship to me. Fury suggests something smaller, so maybe a bike. Misk doesn't have a space bike, and that is something that kind of seems to be missing from their lineup. So maybe the Misk Fury is a space bike, in which case this 17-week unannounced vehicle that these guys are working on, maybe that's it. Because that's something real small. That's bike sized right there. I'm not seeing the downstream teams on here unless they've actually rolled them into something like the vehicle feature team. So it could be this one. I'm just going to kind of swing through and kind of talk about these other ships that are on here. Just in general, I talk about them a lot just because the unannounced ships are kind of fun to speculate about. 72 weeks, and I think like 68 of that is just making the JPEG for this thing. So this is a very large ship. I am guessing just because of when it drops around Alien Week, this might be an alien ship, which would explain how long it takes. So the big ships, the sort of things that I've sailed on is something that takes a really long time is either it's usually a big ship. It's going to be a big ship. So think something larger than a constellation, usually much larger. But other things that could increase the time like this is a manufacturer they're not real familiar with, a style guide that they're not real familiar with, like aliens, like Xi'an. So if this were a big Xi'an ship, it wouldn't shock me. Or Tavaran. I mean, it would kind of make sense that there'd be a big Tavaran ship out there, but that would surprise me. I would expect it to be Xi'an, and I expect us to get it around Alien Week. But if we don't, man, if it's something like Anvil or Aegis, maybe it's something like the Pegasus or something. I don't think they give us the Pegasus. Yeah, they've got a couple names that are out there burning, but whatever this is, it's a big ship. 37 weeks. Also a pretty sizable ship. 37 weeks is a long sprint. This one, the audio team is working on it. I think in this case, the audio team is making an ad. So this is going to have like animations, I think Jax McClary kind of stuff. So they'll kind of show off the ship and be like, you should buy the blah, 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 blah. They has these kinds of weapons and does it. Kind of like their almost like car commercial thing. I think that's what's going on here. But 37 weeks, bigger ship. 15 weeks, not a bigger ship. That's like medium. Think like Freelancer size. This is just a JPEG. So these three, this one, they're actually building it. So whatever they're making here, they're actually building it. Which means it's either combat cargo or like mining or salvage or something like that. But yeah, I would be shocked if they had something that big for mining or salvage. 37 weeks, pretty big. You know what that could be? that could actually be our large miner. So right now we've got like the rock, which, well, you got hand mining. You've got the rock, which is like a half step up from hand mining. You got the rock DS, which is like a half step up from the rock. Then you have the prospector, which is kind of your entry level mining ship. You have your mole, which is your medium level ship. Then you have your Orion, which is your giant ship. You're missing this ship right here. We actually, as I was reminded several times in the comments, that RSI, we've voted during SitCon that RSI would build a large miner. This is the right size. That would make sense. So I could see this being the RSI heavy miner. Would make sense. 15 weeks, medium ship, 29 weeks. This one is the vehicle content team is working on it. So this one's straight to flyable or drivable. 29 weeks is not huge. And then we got 28 weeks here for vehicle concept. So 28 weeks for vehicle concept. Again, just making the JPEG largish. Think like Constellation or bigger for that. So it's kind of weird that they're pushing bigger ships. Again, another thing that could stretch out the time is if it's an unknown manufacturer. So like think Kruger, the people that make the Merlin and the Archimedes, the little snub ships on the Constellation. If they had something that was freelancer sized, CIG would have to figure out what their style guide for interiors and stuff like that was. That's the kind of thing that could take a long time, but 28 weeks, I would generally think of something around Constellation sized. 17 weeks, this is a bike. So I'm thinking the Misk Fury is a space bike made by Misk, and I'm thinking this is it. And it's probably something that we'll get in 318 as kind of their surprise drop. Just a guess. I have no insider knowledge at all. Underground facilities, they added 12 weeks, so 3 months. But it's still around the middle of the year. So, I mean, we could get, I think the way they'll roll this out to us is kind of the same way that they did with the derelict settlements, is we will get an underground facility. So there'll be like one on Hurston, and they'll kind of test out the new investigation missions. I think they're going to be talking about that on tomorrow's show, which probably by the time this one finishes rendering and I get it up on YouTube, it'll be today's show. And hopefully by then we have 318 in our grubby little hands and we're all playing it. But anyway, gang, that is all I have got for now. There were other things that were moving along, but it wasn't anything huge, and most things just kind of plugged along on their schedule, so they're looking fine. I would kind of like to know what your thoughts are on these ships. What the hell do you think the Misk Fury is? If you think that I missed something that was a big deal that changed on here, let me know down in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for sitting through this, and catch me next time.